But this is the perfect segue to a very big debate, especially it's often a debate in tech as well. Do we believe in that we can create abundance in energy and food just given that we have the right innovation and technology, or we believe that it's going to be a resource management play where we have these resources, we're not going to invent a new oil, let's say. So it's all about, spreading this energy as efficient as possible. Or do you believe that we have great discoveries which actually can create abundance on an energy level? Or is that just an impossible question to answer?
Yeah, this is probably a little bit out of my league, but let me try and say a couple of things that I feel comfortable to explain. So first of all, let's take the electrification of everything. The electrification problem of everything, technology, non-technology, it's chemistry. And in chemistry, because batteries are chemistry, lithium-ion battery is a chemical problem, and we are trying to solve chemical problems in battery, meaning making them more efficient, having a larger range for the car. And so we're trying to do that now for about 30 years. And we're not making a lot of progress. So Moore's law that applies to the semiconductor industry and that made everything, that was computerized so much more powerful, doesn't apply in battery technology. That's going to be, and there are some very good informations out there. I mean, if you go on Volkswagen Power Day and you spend 90 minutes on that, you can learn a lot about batteries, and it's nicely presented. With a similar accent than I have, but I think people will understand it. And the point is, it's hard. It's really hard. So let's be humble about what we can and cannot do technology-wise, so to speak, in terms of the transition. But then it goes a step further. Then we go into the materials that we need for that. So the nickel and the lithium and the copper and the cobalt, that each have an important function in a battery. And those, while not scarce in Earth's crust, very scarce in terms of production, meaning everyone, do we know where the deposits are of copper today that we need to bring online in order to supply the additional demand that will come from the electrification of everything, not just cars, windmills, the solar panels and so on. They all need copper because copper is the amazing conductor of everything, right? It conducts best. The best conductor of all the metals is obviously silver, but silver is so much more expensive than copper that it's impossible to substitute or to be used. And then the next best conductor is aluminium, but the aluminium in an industrial application has a lot of disadvantages. It's brittle, it doesn't like water reaction. So if you use those underground cables that the offshore wind industry now needs, and if you go to ABB, which you obviously know, it's a Swedish-Swiss company. They do everything when it comes to cables. If you go and talk to them, they really don't like to use aluminium because the maintenance part, maybe in 10, 20 years, which matters to the call it the overall life perspective of a wind farm, is very hard to do if you use aluminium. So there we could go into a lot of details, but believe me, no one wants those mines. So America, for instance, has 3 incredibly interesting large-scale projects for copper. None of them gets anywhere, right? There is a project called Pebble, which is in Alaska, which is run by a, by the way, listed company, Northern Dynasty. You can look it up. They are in a permitting loop now for 15 years. And when I say permitting loop, they don't make an inch of progress. Now, if you go and really go about the details, as this is exactly what I do, and really look into these things, what's going on there and so on, it's actually shocking what what kind of red tape there is, lobbying there is to kill that project for no reasonable reason. And at the same time, we want that electrification, right? So what we are trying, in what we put in law and what we are actually doing on the ground in these administrations, that couldn't be further apart. And so we have to make some decisions and say, look, either we want this electrification, which I have nothing against. I think that, electric cars are cool. I bought my first Tesla in 2013. I think we should buy them. Why did I buy them? Because I'm concerned about the supply of oil. I'm not concerned about the demand of oil. I'm concerned about, this tank, which I call Mother Earth, at some point in 100 years will not give us the 105, 110 million barrels we need. And so we need alternatives, right? So I'm all for that. From a different angle than most people, everyone thinks that we need to get rid of that diesel engine. I'm not worried about the diesel engine. I'm worried about where does the diesel come from in 50 years. And we're going to have, by the way, the first diesel crisis this summer for your audience. If you don't believe that, we absolutely are going to have a diesel crisis this summer. I think we're going to have curtailments in diesel. Imagine that in Europe. So we had that in the 70s. We're going to have it this summer. So my point is, it's just that we have to become somehow as citizens more aware of what is going on here and how contradictory this planet at the moment is in its behavior. So the net zero carbon law in the European Constitution, which forces the entire car industry to electrify everything by law. So it's compliance driven. Okay. And on the other side, no chance to bring on a major new mine in America, the not in my backyard syndrome, which means, so where does the copper come from? And that Volkswagen and BMW and Renault and Mercedes need in order to, Mercedes, for instance, wants to electrify its entire global fleet by 2030. Audi, according to Volkswagen Group, wants to electrify all Audi cars by 2025. Now I said, that's fantastic, it's cool. These cars are actually, if you sit in the e-tron, they're really cool. But I'm just saying, I'm a resource investor and I'm thinking like, maybe the Fondquant family office wants to call me to negotiate for them one or two deals, takeoff deals, because I'm not quite sure where they want to source the copper. There are big challenges coming, and those challenges, at the moment we have called it fossil inflation, right? The inflation because of fossil fuels, but in parallel that we're going to have green inflation, so the inflation because of metals and minerals that we're not going to have sufficiently, and they're going to therefore increase in price. And the second is probably what you feel less directly, because the fossil fuel inflation you feel in your heating bill, and you feel it in your, at the pump when you fill up your car right now. But the mineral inflation you're going to feel when you pay the car, because it's an Investitionsgut, an investment good, right? And then when your electrified car, your e-tron, needs about 4 times the amount of copper than your current car, same size, and the copper price doubles or triples in order to set the incentives to find each mine out there to have enough copper in the future. You're going to feel it too at some point. You're going to feel it less, but you're going to feel it too. And that comes in everywhere, wherever I look, it comes in now through the fertilizer, through the copper, through the nickel. We had just had the nickel short squeeze on top. Wherever you look, wherever, and we are so deeply into the commodities. The commodities, as I like to say on Twitter, they are angry. And then come the macro guys and say, no, but you don't understand. We are in a slight deflation because, and they look at their CPI components and think this is coming down. And I'm thinking, well, I have a different perspective because I do commodities, and one part, obviously, they think about demand and demand becoming less. And that was true for the last 10 years. Whenever they saw a demand slowdown, that mattered for commodity prices. But the thing is, the supply side at the moment is hurting, a multiple time more. We just don't know where to bring on the supply on anything. On gas, European gas, huge problem, right? And we can go through the numbers for your audience if you want, but maybe we don't want to go through details here. We kind of want to keep the big picture. But so we can go through gas, we can go through oil. Huge problem now with Russia. That is set in stone. That's not going to change course. And we have the metal side, the nickel, the copper, the zinc, the lead. All of those are hurting. The aluminium is hurting. Aluminium used to be like what I like to say, like shopping groceries. It was available, it was there was too much of it stored, and so it was easy to buy. The price was always like just marginally above the cost curve. 1/3 of them wouldn't earn any money in the cost curve, as the commodity cost curve. So always the last guy doesn't make money. So that game completely over, right? It's not like going to shop for groceries anymore.
But it also means
that some of these commodities, like for instance cobalt, 80% of it comes out of DRC.
Yeah.
Now, why do I say that? DRC is not Norway when it comes to sourcing oil or gas, right? You have the rule of law. You have, you're probably as good as it gets out there in a service sector or brain power or new projects or bringing it all in what we say in German Einklang, like you take care of nature, being responsible producers and so on. But the cobalt in DRC is a completely different game. And if you pay attention to what Glencore did in the last 10 years, they gave back the mines 3 times because they are so fed up with this constant local little bitty corruption. The moment you have the cobalt, they don't let you export it and this and that. So it's a very tough process.